Okay, we're going to have a look at the sharing of the electrons in the covalent bonding for, let's do water to start with. So water is H2O. Okay, so we've got two hydrogen atoms and we've got one oxygen atom. Now oxygen has 8 electrons, so it's got its nucleus here. It's got 2 electrons there and then 6 in its outer shell. And then hydrogen has 1 electron. Now what happens is that these 2 electrons here are shared between the oxygen and the hydrogen. Okay, so because when they're shared, then hydrogen, if you look at each hydrogen atom, it's got 2 electrons, so it has a full valence shell. And if we include these 2 electrons in this shell here, then the oxygen has 8. So in water there are 2 covalent bonds. Now this diagram is called a Lewis diagram, and you don't actually need to know about a Lewis diagram until year 12, okay, in level 2 chemistry, but it's quite interesting, and so I tend to just include it. So you will not be asked to draw these in an end of year exam. I've put them in just for interest's sake. So let's have a look at carbon dioxide. We've got CO2. Okay, so we've got this one's a little bit different. So let's do our oxygen molecule here, and we've got carbon here, and then we've got another oxygen here. And so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got oxygen, carbon, oxygen, and carbon is 6, so it's got its 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you can see that okay, we've got 2 of the valence electrons from oxygen, from this oxygen molecule, joining with 2 of the valence carbon electrons, and 2 also for the other oxygen atoms. And you'll see that there are 2 pink circles each time, okay, and that actually ends up being a double, what we call a double covalent bond. So there are 2 doubles. And you'll also notice that I've drawn these ones in a straight line and these ones in more of a V shape. So water is actually a V-shaped molecule and carbon dioxide is a linear molecule. And that I find that really interesting when it comes to chemistry, but you will do all of this structure and bonding as a separate standard in level 2 chemistry. So if you're interested in this sort of thing, this will be a whole standard in level 2 chemistry. Okay, let's have a look at ethene just to finish off with. I wonder whether you managed to get any of those. Ethene is an alkene, C2H4. So again, we've got 2 carbon atoms, 6 electrons, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got 4 hydrogens, each with 1. electron. So these are your hydrogens. And here we've got our 2 carbons. So there's a whole lot of sharing going on here. So there's your double bond of your alkene. And I'm going to try really hard this time to try and show you where all the shared electrons, how they all find full outer shell. So hydrogen needs 2 electrons to get a full outer shell. So each one of these, that is the full outer shell for each of the hydrogens. Okay, now this carbon here needs 8 electrons in its outer shell to be stable. So if you look at what I'm putting my circle around, okay, the 1 carbon atom is sharing with another carbon and 2 hydrogens to actually get a full outer shell of 8 electrons. So where I've drawn these little pink circles, that is 2 electrons being shared by 2 atoms, and that's what a covalent bond is. Now this is quite tricky. It's beyond CPS level 1 standard. Okay, I'm just showing you for interest's sake, so if you don't get it, forget it. Okay, but if you are fascinated, it is very, I think it's really interesting, and it does give rise to the shapes of all the molecules, but something to look forward to in level 2. Thanks, girls.